are live in Washington, D.C.
It never seems to end, but as long as we're out here doing this, it'll push it, hopefully, to keep bringing stuff out to light. It's kind of unbelievable. Yeah.
Shame! 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 That there is no longer any confusion about Trump-Russia collusion. We saw just a few hours ago the email. It turns out emails were central to crimes committed in the period leading up to the election. We saw the email in which Donald Trump Jr. was promised damaging information as part, quote, of Russia and its government's efforts to help, sort of end quote, Donald Trump to win this election. So he had this meeting on that basis. It was a promise for damaging, compromising information about Hillary Clinton, something of great value in a campaign. The subject line was Clinton, Russia, private, confidential. The email said that it was about information that the Crown Prosecutor of Russia had presented to this lawyer, who was presented as the government lawyer flying from Russia to have this meeting. And then Donald Trump Jr. forwarded this entire email thread to Paul Manafort and Jared Kushner. So Paul Manafort and Jared Kushner knew exactly what was in it. All of the lies that we've been told have been laid bare in this one email thread, which I might note is only one email thread. As far as we can tell, this is most likely just the very tippiest tip of the iceberg. Remember, this is what they're releasing voluntarily right now. So some things we've discovered. We've discovered that every time they've said that there was no collusion and no relationship with Russia, they all knew that it was a lie. We've learned that Russia has known that Jared Kushner tried to collude with Donald Trump since at least June of 2016, which means that we know now that Russia has known compromising, blackmailable information about Jared Kushner, who has a security clearance, who oversees part of our foreign policy and our domestic policy, who's in the White House. We know that we've been asked to move right over there. And this is just the beginning of what we know. Anyone who thinks that this kind of collusion should go unpunished, that there should be no accountability, can I hear you say no? That makes it unanimous. You guys, the public is with us. This is outrageous. Nobody from, this goes beyond party. This goes beyond voting and non-voting. This is just the most un-American, ridiculous thing that you can imagine. And we're here to say that will not go unpunished. We're here to say that Donald Trump needs to be held accountable for what his campaign, for what his son, for what his son-in-law, for what, as far as we know, for what he might have done in this election. Let's give a round of applause to everyone who's out here within a space of a few hours. Thank you for being here. But let's also remember that this isn't just about Donald Trump and his campaign and his administration, because Mitch McConnell was told that this happened. Mitch McConnell was asked to join a bipartisan statement rejecting Russia's interference in the U.S. election, and Mitch McConnell said no. Should Mitch McConnell be the majority leader of the United States Senate? Should there be accountability for the Republicans in the House and the Senate that are blocking an independent investigation into what happened?
Of course!
Should Paul Ryan be able to keep his speakership if he refuses to find out whether Russia got involved with the Trump campaign to subvert this election? No! Should every Republican have to answer in 2018 or before for what they did to cover up for Donald Trump's collusion with Russia? Nobody is above the law. 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 Nobody is above the law.
And in recent months, we have heard excuse after excuse and evasion after evasion and denial after denial from the Trump administration and from his supporters to insist that nothing untoward ever happened between the Trump campaign and the Russian government. Well, we know now that those denials and those evasions were as dishonest as we always thought they were. That is no longer a question. The question that we face now is what we're going to do about it. The question is whether Republicans will join Democrats, will put their love of country above their partisan aspirations to say enough is enough, to say that we need an independent investigation. We need a Department of Justice that will take on Trump and not just carry out his agenda. We need real accountability for people who break the law, even if they're rich, even if they're famous, even if it's the president's son. This fight is not over. We will be pushing forward. But this is the point where the rubber hits the road. This is the point where we force the question. We have a chance to take our country back and make clear that that principle we were founded on, of equal justice under law, of all of us having to obey the law, can continue, but only if we make it happen. And with this many people here, with this many angry, active, motivated individuals all across the country, I don't doubt that we can do it. Thank you very much.
We can just yell them simultaneously and cheer for all the groups, whatever groups you're part of. Let's hear it. I am part of Wisconsinites. Listen, this should not be a partisan issue. There are some brave, never Trump Republicans who are pounding the table in fury, who are leaving their party right now because their party is covering up for this. This is totally outrageous, and it's something that every American should be united in opposition to. Democracy is about as American as it gets. Working with hostile foreign powers to subvert democracy is about as un-American as it gets. This ridiculous, insane situation with Trump, his team, his family, and Russia is almost as bad as their healthcare bill, which is about as popular as Ebola. I'd like to ask Town Hall Project's Jimmy Dahman to join me now. The Town Hall Project has been researching moments when members of Congress appear in public across the country. They are few and far between, they are hard to find, but somehow your team finds them. And when they do, we all show up to hold them to account. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. Glad to be here. Wish we didn't have to be here still. It was just a couple weeks ago we were on the other side of the White House, marching for truth, trying to, promote what independent commission. It's important that we keep doing this, unfortunately, that we keep showing up, we keep speaking out and making our voices heard. Norms and principles are being trampled left and right. Now it's looking like laws as well. And we have to hold near and dear the levers of power in this democracy that we still control as the people. And that is the right to protest, the right to show up to town halls, show up to your member of Congress's office, call their office, reach out to your local press, write letters to the editor, organize your communities, organize your families, your friends, and make sure that our voices are heard. And that's all we can do right now. And we have to keep doing it more than ever because the stakes have never been this high. Just want a quick story. I was back home last week. I live in Youngstown, Ohio, Northeast Ohio, and I was got some Ohio fans in the audience. And I was meeting with a friend of mine over a beer last Thursday night, and he said, I didn't want to tell you this. I know how you feel about things. I'm ashamed to say, now that I've had a few drinks, that I voted for Donald Trump last November. And, I was frustrated. I didn't know what was going on. I wasn't paying too close attention. And now with all this Russia stuff that keeps coming out, it makes me sick to my stomach that, I supported something that subverted democracy. And that's where we are now. We need to keep showing up, speaking out, reaching out to friends and family, those who agree with us, those who don't agree with us, to build consensus. Because this isn't a Democratic or a Republican issue. This is a democratic issue. And this is our government that we need to make sure is accountable to us. So we need to make sure that we are showing up, speaking out, inviting our family and friends to do the same, and make sure that we are not relenting when things get tough, because it's going to come down to us and our ability to put pressure on our members of Congress, on our local representatives, on our local press, to make sure that this stuff is covered and this stuff is investigated, and those who, broke laws are held accountable, no matter who you are or where you're from. That's justice. So thanks so much for having me. Make sure you keep showing up and speaking out. Thank you.
Under attack. What do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
Thank everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for coming out. Thanks to all the people who've been watching us on Facebook Live, to all the organizations across the country. Thanks to all the groups that came out to co-sponsor this event. This is one of many protests that will happen here in Washington and around the country. This issue is not going away. The American people are not going away. The Constitution's not going away. The Trump administration is going to go away.